Only is Kiddushin, Daf Ayim Beis Kiddushin 72, and today's Daf Yomi is dedicated for Yeshua, for all of Klal Yisrael through this terrible Milchama, this terrible war that was brought upon the Jewish people by Hamas. So we're going to start on the top of Ayim Beis 72a. It's just a tremendous Daf. Gemara says on top, Inna Hu Delavai Parasai. This is really a continuation of the previous discussion, and it's today. We're going to say that the Persians moved up the border, and that's the edge of the territory of what we call Bavel, and so they built it upstream, and so therefore that's the end border of Babylon. So the Gemara now goes on and says, how do we know how far Bavel extends to the west? So Amar Abai Rav Yosef, Lahagisa Defras Adecha. How far does Bavel extend on the western side of the Euphrates? So Amrway, so Rav Yosef says to Abai, Madatech, why are you asking? Biram, are you asking because of Biram? You want to know about Biram, which is west of the Euphrates? That we can't be that's the question, because the best people, the best lineage of Pamadisa, they come from Biram. So how are you asking? Obviously, they're part of Papa. So I'm Rav Papa. Now Rav Papa says, just like we have a machokas with respect to lineage as to which is considered part of Bavel, so do we want to know So there's a dispute with respect to a get, because we need to know if they're part of Bavel, because you need to know which area the get was given. The Rav Yosef says machokas leyichsin avol. But it says Rav Yossi says only dispute with respect to Yochsim as it relates to Gittim. Everybody's going to say that if you that ad arba tinyana de gishra, that until you come to the second willow past the bridge, that's going to be considered part of Bavel. And so therefore, if you deliver a get there, you're going to say, you have to say this declaration, which is going back at the very beginning of Mesechus Gittim, Mefanei Nefka, Mefanei Nefka. There's special laws that pertain to the get if it's in Bavel. Amirami Baraba, Chaval Yama Tchelasa de Bavel. Chaval Yama is part of Bavel. It's the glory of Bavel. And Shunya V'Guvya Tchelasa de Chaval Yama. And Shunya and Guvya are the best parts of Chaval Yama. Ravina Amar Av Tzitzora. Tzitzora is also the best part of Chaval Yama. Tanyanami Hachi, Hanan ben Pinchas, Omer, Chaval Yama Tchelasa de Bavel. The Chaval Yama is the best part of Bavel. Shunya V'Guvya V'Tzitzora Tchelasa de Chaval Yama. They're the best parts of Chaval Yama. Amar Papa Inna. And today, Yaribu Kusai, but nowadays we can't say that anymore because it's not the best places for lineage, because the Kutayim are mixed in with them. Meloi, it's not true. Is it so? Who debami now? Because what happened was that there was a woman that there was a kuti who wanted to have a wife from amongst these people, but they didn't want to give this person the wife, and the reason why they didn't want to give it to her is because they said he's a kuti, and so therefore that's what happened. So the rumors got mixed up. What is this place of Chavoyama? Says Rav Papa Zupras de Borsi. This is the part of the Euphrates near Borsif. There was a man who said to the rabbis, Anam and Shot Mishut. I'm from this place called Shot Mishut. Amar Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha Raglav Amar. So Rabbi Yitzchak Nafcha stood up on his legs and he said, Shot Mishut Bein and Aharos Omedis. That Shot Mishut is located between the rivers. Amar asked the question, Bein and Aharos Omedis. And if it's located between the rivers, Mayavi, who cares? How does that help us? What's the area that's between the rivers? So Amar Abai, Amar Chama Baruch, Amar Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina, meaning to say that if you're between the rivers, that's like you're in bubble. It's like you're in the Goa with respect to Yichus. And so the Gemara says, well, what is this place that's called between the rivers? So Amar Yochanan, it's from Eid Kira and upstream on the Euphrates. The Gemara says, how could that be? Amar Rabbi Yochanan, an Ma'abarta de Gizma, that it only goes as far as Ma'abarta de Gizma. So he explains, Amar Rabbi Ritzu enough, but there was a little strip that was coming out from the Gizma, the Mabar to the Gizma, and so that was where those people were considered to have good yichus. Amarav Vika Barab and Amarav Hanano Amarav Chawazon and Nihav Ned Harei Kigol Yochsin. These places are very good for Yochsin. They're like Bavel, it's very reliable. Amar Abaye, lo titzai to Yivama, he did not fully lost him. He says, no, don't listen to Ravika. Just so happened to be, he had the opportunity to marry his brother's wife when after his brother died. And so he said, I can marry her because she's in from a good place. But you can't rely upon it. You can't rely upon it. So Abaye is saying that Ravika is only claiming that because he wanted to marry his brother's widow. Amar Lay, so Ravika says to Abaye, Atu Didihi, Rav Chananel, you think this was my teaching? This was Rav Chananel's. Also, Shaile Rav Chananel. So they went and asked Rav Chananel. Amaru, Hachi Amarav, he wasn't Avadi, Arei Kagolios. Indeed, Rav Chananel confirmed that that's what he taught that. Pligi de Rabbi Abba Rav Kana, Amar Rav Kana. This is so this teaching that Rav Chananel said in the name of Rav. This is actually a dispute which argues with Rav Abba Bar Kana. Number of Abba Bar Kana. What does it mean from the pasuk that it says from Malachim Bet Lach Ubechabor Nahar goes in Varei Madai that the king of Ashur settled these 10 tribes in these places, which are called Chach, Bachlach, and in Chalach and Chavor on the river of Nahar goes on, and in Arei Madai, what are these places? Chalach zu Chalazon, that's Chalazon. Chavor zu Adayav, Chavor is Adayav, and Nahar goes on zu Ginzak. Arei Madai zu Chamdan v'Chavrosah. The Amerland, some say zu Navnad v'Chavrosah. And so what's Chavrosah? Amar Shmuel, Krach Mushli Chuski v'Rimki. So these are the cities of Krach Mushli, Chuski and Ruchi. And Amar Rabbi Yochanan, the Kulam of Som. We're saying that all these places, they don't have good yichus from there. So Kasaka Daitov, so we assume that Mushli Hainu Mushkani, that Mushli and Mushkani are the same places. And so therefore, Amar Rabban Amar Shmuel, Mushkani Arei Kigol Yosef, the Mushkani is a good place for yichus. So now we have a contradiction. So therefore we have to say, Mushli Chodu Mushkani, two separate places. And then the Gemara says, Utlasi Lam Bepuma Ben Shinea. And it says in the pasuk from Daniel that there were 3 ribs were in its mouth between its teeth. That the Navi Daniel had a nevuah of a bear, which is the symbol of the Persians, and it was eating 3 ribs. And so, what are these 3 ribs? Sometimes it swallows them, sometimes it spits them out. The Aruch Evaya Achve Tinyana Dam Yoladov. And then the pasuk says, and behold, there was another beast similar to the bear. Tani Rav Yosef Elu Parsim. These are the Persians. She'ocham v'shosik kadov. They eat and they drink like a bear. U'misarbam kadov, and they're fat like a bear. U'megalon seir kadov, and they grow hair like a bear. Me'elam menucha kadov, and they're never at rest like a bear. These are the Persians. Rabbi Ami ki avichazi parsai derachav amar. When Rabbi Ami would see a Persian running, he would say, "Hainu duva denaita." This is a wandering bear. Amalei Rabbi Levi Hareini Parsim. He said, "Show me a Persian." He says, Amalei domim l'chayalo shel beis David. The Persians resemble the troops of David HaMelech because they're very mighty. The troops of David HaMelech are known for being very mighty. So therefore, he said, "Show me a Persian." He compared it to the troops of David HaMelech. Hareini Chavran. Show me a Chabaran. Domim l'malach Chabar. They resemble the destructive angels. Hareini Yishmael, show me Yishmaelim. Domim l'seirim shel beis Akisei. They resemble the demons of the bathroom. This is so moving to be reading this on today's when I saw literally this morning the Chayalim preparing to go into battle, and so I would say that they are domim l'chayalos shel beis David. They're similar to the troops of King David. Hareini Talmidei Chacham shel Bavel. Show me the Torah scholars. They're like the ministering angels. When Rebbe was dying, Amar Homania Ika Bavel. He said there's a town in Bavel called Homania. All the people who live there are Ammonim. You can't rely upon them. Misagaria Ika Bavel. There's a town in Bavel called Miskaria Kula Mamzeri. They're all Mamzerim. Birka Ika Bavel. There's a town in Bavel called Birka. Shnei Achim Yesh. There's 2 brothers. Shemachufim Nishosei Zelazed. They switched their wives. Birta Detasia Bavel. There's a town in Bavel called Birta Detasia. Ayom Saro Me'achrei Makom. Today they have left Hashem. Why? To copy Pira B'Kaveh B'Shabbosim. Because one Shabbos, the fish pond was overflowing with fish. Also with Tzadabu B'Shabbosim. And they went and they caught it on Shabbos. V'Shamtinu Rabachi B'Rabbi Yoshaya V'Ishtamud. And he excommunicated them for doing this, and it was very strong. He because he punished them so harshly, they became Mishumad, and they became apostates. Akra de Agma Ika de Bavel. There's a town in Bavel called the Akra de Agma. Ada Barava Yeshban. There's a man there named Ada Barava. Hayom Yoshe B'Cheko Shel Avram. Today he's sitting exactly where Avram was sitting. What does that mean? It means to say today he's getting his bris milah. Some other people say that means that today he is dead. That he said that's what it's talking about. So it says the Gemara, Hayom Noad Reb Yehuda b'Bavel. Then Rebbe said another thing. On the day he was dying, he said, today Rabbi Yehuda was born in Bavel. The Amar Mark, Shemeis Rabbi Akiva Noad Rabbi. When Rabbi Akiva died, Rabbi was born. Shemeis Rabbi Noad Rabbi Yehuda. When Rabbi died, Rabbi Yehuda was born. That's what the statement was saying, that Rabbi, when he was dying, said that today Rabbi Yehuda was born. Shemeis Rabbi Yehuda Noad Rava. When Rabbi Yehuda died, Rava was born. Shemeis Rava Noad Rav Ashi. When Rava died, Rav Ashi was born. To teach you, Shein Tzaddik Niftar Min Ha'olam, so that a tzaddik doesn't die from this world until another tzaddik is born just like him. As it says, sun rises and the sun sets. As soon as one tzaddik dies, another one is born. But in fact, it's saying the tzaddik doesn't die before the other one is born. Before the son died, the son of Eli set, meaning to say before Eli died. The son for Shmuel, the Ramati, was rising, as it says, before the light of God was extinguished, and Shmuel lay down and began to be a prophet. So we see from here, this is a tremendous chizuk during these days. Don't worry, the Jewish people, Hashem is saying, before you even lose one, the next one is being born. That the Jewish people will be here for forever. Siva Hashem Yaakov Srivav Tzarav. Rabbi Yehuda Omer, what does that mean? This is the way of the Ammonites. They acted towards the Jews in Pumnara, that they persecute them. So Gemara says, the Gemara is going to talk about other psukim now from Yechezkel. It says, and it was that when I gave the nevuah, it says Yechezkel that and I fell down on my face and I cried and I said, "Whoa, Hashem." One said that this is for good about the Persians, and one says that this is for bad. One says that he was praising the Persians because the governor of Meshan was the son-in-law of Nebuchadnezzar. From all the captives that he brought to Babylonia, you didn't send us any. So Nebuchadnezzar wanted to send to his son-in-law from the Jews. Let us Jews who are distinguished serve you here in Bavel, and let our slaves go there. So we see that Pilatio saved Bavel from being enslaved to Nebuchadnezzar's servants in Meshan. Amar Navi, Misha Satova B'Yisrael Yamus B'Chatzi Yamav. So he said, should somebody who did a good thing for the Jews die in half of his lifetime? And Mandar Lara, and the other position says Pilatio was wicked. How is that the case? He says because it says in the pasuk it says in the pasuk in Yechezkel that a wind lifted me up and brought me to the gate of Hashem in the east. Apona Kadima faced east, where there was at the entrance of the gate 25 men. There were at Yaznia ben Azar at Platayo ben Benayahu, and I saw there Yaznia ben Azar and Platayo ben Benayahu. Sorry, I'm the princess. And he brought me to the inner house, and at the entrance to Hashem's temple was between the Ulam and the altar. There were 25 men. Their backs were to Hashem's temple and their faces eastward, meaning to say they were doing avodah zarah towards the sun. But we know from the fact that it says their faces were east. I already could have figured out that their backs were to the temple. So why does it say that they were defecating towards the temple? The Kamar Navi and the prophet said, should this person who did this terrible thing, should he die in his bed? Of course not. He should die a horrible death. This time to Shmuel the Amrah. Let's say that Shmuel is the one who said that Yechezkel was telling us about Pilatio's wickedness. Mushkani is like bubble. It's good yichus. Mishon lo chashtulo, but Mishon They weren't concerned. Why? They weren't concerned about slaves or mamzeres. But the Kohanim were not careful about marrying grushas, divorcees. So we see from here is that so if Platayu really had sent the slaves to Meshan, then we should be concerned that the Meshan residents were slaves. So since he wasn't concerned about that, he must say that Platayu was a tzaddik. Well, Mara says no. Shmuel Amar Tova. Shmuel says they were good. Shmuel Tamei. Shmuel follows his logic. Amar Amafkir Avdo Yatzel Cheres. If someone says his slave is ownerless, he goes free. Doesn't need a document of emancipation, as it says. Ko Eved Ish Miknas Kesef. Every slave of a man was purchased with money. Eved Ish V'lo Eved Isha. He's a man slave and not a woman slave. Ela Eved Sheishcha Rishus L'Rabo Olav. Korei Eved. A slave whose master is upon him is called a slave. Eved Shein Rishus L'Rabo Olav and Korei Eved. If his master is not upon him, it's not called a slave. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel Zudi Rav Meir. This is the position of Rav Meir. So our Mishnah taught that Ezra said that all the impure people left Bavel, and all the other nations do not have a presumptive status of yichus. But Rabbi Yehuda says in the Shmuel that's only the position of Rav Meir. But the Chacham say you can marry somebody from any land because we assume that everybody's in a cheskes kashas. Everybody's okay. So Meimer Sharlei Rav Huna Bar Nasa Mintav Isis Samich Chozaisa. Meimer allowed Rav Huna Bar Nasa to marry a woman from Chozaita. Why do you say that? All the lands are in the cheskas of kashrus. Gemara says, what are you talking about? But Rav Kahana didn't teach us. All these academies weren't teaching it. So they don't have yuchas. Gemara says, still, he didn't accept it because he heard from Rav Zvid and Naradai that the Chachamim say that everybody from every land has good yichus, and therefore you can marry somebody from any land. So the Gemara says, in the future, in the time of the Asir Lavo, in the future, the Mamzerim and all the Nesinim will be purified. That's the position of Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Meir says, they will not be future. Rabbi Yossi, doesn't it say doesn't it say you'll be purified? So therefore they will be purified. So how could you say they won't? So Amar Meir says when it says you're going to be purified from your sins. Woman of mamzeros, but not from being a mamzer. So Amar Rabbi Yossi no, the pasuk says I'll purify you even from being a mamzer. When it says Bishlam Rabbi Meir makes sense. According to Rabbi Meir says they won't be purified. I don't know if Yashav Mamzer Ba'ashro. Mamzer will live in Ashro. That's what it says in Zechariah. Or Rabbi Yossi, my Yashav Mamzer Ba'ashro. What does he do with that pasuk? He says, "Can the Matargim Rabbi Yosef Yasvam Beis Yisrael or Rochsan Ba'arehon." The house of Israel will dwell securely on their land. We're in the land where they once have been treated like strangers. Okay, so we'll stop here, but I just want to say that this is very, very powerful Gemara because, first of all, we see that the soldiers of Israel are compared to the Chayalos based David and to the mighty warriors of the house of David, and we also see that the Talmud is telling us, even though the world sometimes loses tremendous tzaddikim, we say, how can we go on? The Gemara is promising us that before somebody leaves the world, their replacement is born. And they're born to do the great things. And so therefore Hashem is promising us that the world will not be abandoned from the tzaddikim. We'll stop here. Ayash Shekach to everyone.